hello everybody. Thank you so much for coming tonight, everybody. It is what is today? The 19th of September, 2023, and this is a special town council meeting. I'm going to call this meeting to order. The time is 7:33. We have in front of us, council, our agenda, which includes this hearing, and then a vote to enter closed session before we adjourn. Any changes that we need to make to that? Not hearing none, not hearing any. We'll assume those are okay as presented. So before we get started, I have some things I would like to say. The purpose of this hearing is for us, the elected officials, to hear your thoughts about how to proceed with this building. We aren't making any decisions tonight. We're not making any decisions tonight. We're just listening. So with that in mind, council members, Lisa, I'm talking to you.
Yes, ma'am.
We're all going to want to chime in if somebody asks a question.
I'm not going to talk.
Please don't.
I'll just smile and nod.
And take notes.
And I'll take notes.
So we are not going to respond. Our staff, lovely staff over there, hardworking, they're taking notes, and we will provide responses over the next few days. Barb, town manager Barb Matthews, indicated she's committed to having responses and making sure that we reply and give additional information before the end of the week. So that I want to suggest some guidance about how to make sure that this listening session for us helps us advance the ball and move forward with this project. Okay. This project has been going on for many, many years. Jack Mandel, I inherited this project from you when I joined the council in 2013.
I inherited. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So, and all along we've talked, council members, residents, town managers, we've all talked about how expensive it's going to be. So we know it's going to be expensive. We know that that is an issue. But I'm going to make an inflammatory assertion. Cost isn't what we need to focus on yet. The estimates we received last week make it clear we don't have enough money currently to pay for a renovation. So what does it matter at this moment if we're $500,000 short or $5 million short? We don't even know what our project will be. We don't know what we're going to build. We have not said what we are going to do. So I would ask you to please set aside the cost concerns for a bit and let's shift gears. Okay. The three concepts that Wiedemann Architects presented last week were meant to show that this renovation can be done in a small way, in a big way, or somewhere in between. We aren't asking to vote about, we're not even asking ourselves to choose among these three designs. Which one would you like? That's not the question here. I'll do better of making sure that that's emphasized, that we're not saying A, B, or C, 1, 2, or 3, big, medium, small. Instead, what we really want to know is what elements you like. What do you think is essential? But in order to do that, we have to figure out we need to ask why those elements are essential. So how often has somebody wanted to rent this building but been turned away for a particular date because the hall only has one usable space? If the answer is never, then why are we thinking about making this building bigger? But if the answer is daily, that daily people are turned away because the space is already taken and there's not an additional place they could use, then let's think about what we need to change to be able to meet the demand. Separate issue, another element potential to consider. How many events have been ruined because we don't have a full kitchen? Maybe we could build a supercharged kitchen and try to boost rental income by marketing it to home businesses, chefs who want to bake cookies and sell at a farmer's market. Or maybe all we need is a fridge, a sink, and a bunch of counter space so that we can have a place to put all our platters. But we need to ask these questions. Let's start with this. What have we been missing out on because of town hall's current configuration? And if it's being used as much as it ever will, regardless of what we do to it, how much fixing up do we really need to do? Someone asked earlier today on the town forum, well, why don't we just figure out what our maximum budget is and then see what we can get for that? But that's not the issue. The issue is, what do we need? Because if we had $20 million, I don't think that we could possibly in a million years use this town $20 million worth. So that's separate. That's just not the direction that I want this to go. I want us to talk about what do we need our building to do for us? And that's what we'd like to ask you all. What do you need this building to be for you so that we can figure out what that, how to make that for the town? Todd.
Just to very quickly and succinctly thank Joanna for all of the work and the due diligence, but to say that we should consider cost as part of it. I mean, it's part of the issue, and we had to take out a bond for Penn Place that took 20 years to pay back. So not to say we shouldn't do this, just to say that please tell us and distinguish between what you would like to see this building have and what we need to see it have. Because I'm not sure that the survey is very good at presenting the options given, but I'm not sure it offers that kind of perspective on the question.
Okay, so what are the needs and what are the, this would be nice. So are you guys ready to rock and roll? And by the way, the survey, which I'm really proud, as of probably in the last 20 minutes or so, the last house got a survey, which means every single house in this town got a flyer saying, please, it's really important. This is an important issue for our town. And we want to hear from as many as we can. And I believe, what's our magic number right now?
We have currently had responses from 103 households. We are still keeping the survey open for another week. So if you have not engaged, we encourage you to do so. My personal 2 cents, I would love to see us hit 150. We can only do that with your help.
Pledge drive.
I have a question. If somebody puts in a survey, if they change their mind on something, then can they reopen it or supersede their previous, or are they done?
So I've only heard from one resident who wanted to amend their existing survey. It sounded like there was some technical issue where they could not go back and do that. If you have responded to the survey and encounter an issue following the link back to edit it, please email me and I would be happy to. It would basically be remove your existing responses so that you can go back through with a fresh slate. I can pull out your existing responses so you have it for your own reference. I do want to emphasize, since it has come up, we are not associating your name with any of your comments or your feedback. Your name and your address is solely requested as a way of making sure that it's Garrett Park residents who are weighing in on Garrett Park's town hall. So we are trying to keep it as neat and clean as possible. If you have issues, let me know and I'll be happy to assist you.
Thank you. And 103, like that's above 25% of the town. Feeling pretty great about that. So we have 3, 6, 8 people who requested to speak, requested in advance. So I would love to start with them. First on our list is Mike Schrader. You could please come to the mic and tell us your name and your address. That would be delightful.
This is on.
Yes.
Close enough. I'm Mike Schrader. I live at 108 Lane County Road Ave. Right there. It's the house with the white picket fence. I moved to Garrett Park in 2019 with my wife and now 6-year-old daughter. So I haven't lived here as long as many of the folks in the room have. But I've lived here long enough to know that it's a special place, a unique place, and we all want to retain the special character of the town in this town hall renovation project. Also want to thank the council for all of your work so far. It takes a lot of effort to get here, and that doesn't go unnoticed by all of us. So thank you. And I also want to thank you for both the survey and the opportunity to provide feedback tonight. I think that's an important part of the process. So thank you for that. We do have 4 points I'd like to make tonight. Let's kind of run through them as quickly as possible. And I'm not given the breaking the rules, but one of those points will be cost. So I apologize. But I'll start with thank you. That works. Thank you. I'll start over. So I think one of the things that I think would be helpful would be just a little bit more context for the proposal in terms of sort of a baseline of Garrett's proposal. Cost is a relevant issue in my view. The character of the building and the choice of the proposals. So the first issue, context for the proposal. Last September, my understanding is the council agreed to obtain a couple of proposals from an architecture firm. And this may be a quote, but I think the council was going to get a bare bones proposal, a mid-range proposal, and a high-range proposal. In the proposals that I see 1, 2, and 3 of the architecture firm, I don't see a bare bones proposal. And it's not just me saying that, it's the firm saying that, and it's their cost and the cost experts saying. They came back with a proposal with a room for a second assembly space for simultaneous use. That's not a bare bones proposal. And the cost estimator, when looking at like proposal 1, it's about the hour and 3-minute mark of the video last week. He said, so if the town was looking to trim costs quickly, it would look to the $212,000 cost for the exterior enclosure. Again, that's not bare bones. So in my view, I think it would be really helpful for the town to understand what we need. It's great for the town to think about what we want. But in my view, I think it would be a great starting point to understand what we absolutely need, what ADA upgrades need to be made, what other safety, what things we need to do to bring the building up to code, those kind of things. And I think we should get an estimate, a cost estimate of what those, and we can build on those. Second point is cost. Again, I apologize for breaking the rules. I do think cost is relevant. So, there's been a lot of traffic on the listserv about this, with cost estimates for proposals 1 through 3 ranging with soft costs between, 3.4 and 4.6 million. I think it's relevant because if we only have, call it 738,000 in ARPA funds, if we have other funds that have been saved for this project and others that we could obligate towards this project, that I understand amount to maybe in the aggregate ballpark of 2.5 million, then we can't pay for any of those proposals that we were provided with. And we can't pay for any of those proposals that we're provided with, then we may be required to issue a bond. I assume that the reason the survey included the question about the bond was because under section 7846 of the town charter, a referendum would be required. And I'm glad that we'll see the results of that survey. At least the council will have the results of that survey in order to make a decision going forward, because I think it would be risky to move forward with a project that would require issuance of a bond, which would require a referendum, when the clock is ticking on the ARPA funds to be obligated by the end of next year. I wouldn't want to risk losing the found money in just because we want some additional upgrades to the building that maybe are nice to have, but not necessary to have. My next point is on character of the building, and I think it's not at all clear to me now what sort of that second assembly space would be, how it would be used. And I think I maybe would just say, I wouldn't want to be at a community dinner and have a metallic cover band play in the second space. They're heavy metal band from the 90s. I wouldn't want normal use of the facility to be negatively impacted because other separate groups are using the facility. I've been to community dinners, I probably lasagna in 2020, you probably remember it. I've been to Town Santa here, I've been to birthday parties for both kids and adults, I've rented Town Hall, and I haven't felt that any of those would be made better if there was a separate space being simultaneously used by another group. I'll also note that I think there's a ripple effect in terms of parking. And that doesn't affect everyone in town, but it does affect me. It is not infrequently the case that people using town hall will either partially or even fully block access to my driveway. And I think two separate groups renting and using space would likely exacerbate that problem. Typically, it's the folks who are bringing things in, who rent the space and bring things in, food, drinks, decorations, and take things out in their cars that are most likely to partially or fully block the driveway. And then the last point,
I appreciate you're giving really good information. I forgot to mention the piece about, we got to make sure that we have time for everybody to be able to. So if you could just wrap it up.
yep,
I appreciate
the
that.
last point, and it's on the choice of these three proposals. It's good to know that the council will not be voting to accept any of these proposals. Because there's, in my view, nothing that can reasonably be accepted at this point. I think there's a lot of work to be done in terms of understanding, again, what we really need, what we can get at a budget, within a budget that would require issuance of a bond, and maybe we can build from there. But I think, at this point, and even on, if you're scheduled to vote on November 13th, it's not clear to me what you would vote on at that point. I think it would be helpful for the architects to provide that bare bones proposal that we need, especially that day.
Thank you.
Thanks again, I appreciate it. Sorry for taking so long. Sorry
No.
for breaking your rules.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Let's see, the next person on our list is
Totally.
Barbara Jackson, who is not in the room, so.
She's virtual, I believe.
I'm on Zoom.
Okay, all right, so.
Can you hear me?
Barbara Jackson, yes, so since I neglected, Mike, you're one lucky man, you got the unlimited time more or less, but we do wanna, we wanna keep things moving along, so, this is the one piece I hadn't considered. Is 4 minutes a good amount, or what is, Todd, what do you think is a good amount? Are you comfortable? Okay, let's try to limit to 4 minutes. I'm not gonna be like the uber super stickler on that, but.
Won't be like the Oscars.
But it's not like the, well, it might be like the Oscars.
Yeah.
What music? should we-
Okay, that's enough.
Anyway, thank
I
you.
basically agree with him.
Can you,
I-
Barbara, can you please, your name and your address, please?
Barbara Jackson, 10922 Montrose Avenue in Garrett Park. And I have to tell you, I was very disappointed with the town hall renovations proposed by Wiedemann Architects. I think the primary reason people rent the town hall is to host large gatherings that would not fit into a smaller venue. They also like to be able to have a kitchen to serve from. We have the town offices and the nursery school available for smaller gatherings. I had hoped that the redesign might imagine a better flow within the building, and instead of chopping it up into smaller rooms, it would make it easier to host, for example, the town dinner, where we are just, bursting at the seams. And I was also upset that I did not see any actual numbers about the soft cost in the estimates until the end of the survey. They were mentioned, but they were not identified. And I don't think it's a total waste. I don't think this survey was a total waste like the one about the traffic, stop signs and all that nonsense. But I do think the idea of trying to ensure that two gatherings could be there at the same time is a non-starter. And I think that was a mistake to direct Wiedemann to do that. I mean, the problem was the RFP. It wasn't, I don't think, the architects. So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Thank you for taking part in the conversation. Next on our list is Peter Benjamin. Come up to the mic, please. Yes, please, sir, your name and address.
I'm Peter Benjamin. I live at 10705 Shelley Court. This is not the first time we've done this. We've done pretty much the same thing when we did the historic rehab of Penn Place. And it worked very nicely. We also had the very same architects, and they were very responsive, even when things got a little bit difficult while we were doing construction. So we have a model that has worked well, and I would suggest we might want to follow that. First part of that is not to get too worked up about the estimates. Estimates do not in any way change what we will pay for this. Estimate is purely guidance to us saying roughly where will the costs be. But the estimates could double, or they could come in half, but we will pay what the bid is after the architect has completed the design and we brought in bidders. But the people who do the construction will determine that cost, not the people who are doing the estimates. So the estimates are valuable to us right now to tell us roughly where we are, but they're not worth having an awfully long discussion about. As an example, I could go out and I could buy a violin for about $200. Or if I had the money, I could go out and I could buy a violin for $2 million. I happen to be a violinist, so I would be able to play both violins and probably get a tune out of both of them. But what I would end up with is one really, really good violin, and okay violin. So what we have to decide is not, can we find a place where it's cheaper? We'll always be able to get it cheaper at Stroh-Snyder's or on the web. And we are not going to be any better off by buying something cheap, as opposed to building something that meets our needs and lasts for as long as this building has lasted up until now. So the focus really needs to be on what you, Madam Mayor, talked about, which is what is it that we need? What is it that we want? What do we want to put into this building? And once we determine that, we can actually get the money for it. And I have no doubts that within the range of things we're likely to decide, we will get the money for it. We did the same thing on Penn Place. We did end up with issuing bonds. We did not increase taxes by 1 penny because of that. We also got what are called bond bills. They're essentially grants from the state to do things like this. And they are ways that you get fairly large, substantial amounts of money without actually making any investments at all as a town. There is no local share, nothing like that. Plus, Ken Schwartz has done a very nice analysis saying we already have a fair amount of money that if we wanted to, we could move in this direction. So the issue of doing the financing is solvable. I was mayor during the time that we did all of the planning for Penn Place, during the time we put together all the financing. All that happens if you quietly and calmly go ahead and move on these things and do what the mayor suggested. Figure out what it is you really want, what you really need, stick with that, have that design, have that estimated, and then go out to bids. And that's when we know what it costs, and then we can put together the final financing plan. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next on our list is Brian Mizuguchi. In person, okay, please come to the mic and give us your name and address.
Mr. Mizuguchi, when you speak, could we encourage you to hold the mic very close to your face? You want to speak directly into it. It's a friend. It's a tool. You got it.
Can you hear me now?
A little closer, please.
All right, my name is Brian. This is I've been there since 2002. And I want to confirm that I'm speaking tonight in my capacity, individual capacity. I'm a member of the Historic Preservation Committee, representing the use of that.
You need that mic closer, please. You really need as close as you can get.
So I'll just first state the preface is, money is great, but would be to restore the original state of this building so that non-historic conditions are removed. I believe we can do that, or I believe that it's possible to work toward that in a way that doesn't incur all the costs that are embedded within option 3. And I say that because there are a number of things that add to the cost of option 3, such as the expansion out back that would provide room for 2 conference rooms. And it's already been discussed today that we probably don't need that since we have one already in town hall. We have space for a conference room here now, have 3 conference rooms. Another aspect of option 3 that is unnecessary is the space devoted to the hallway from front to back. You don't have that large extension. You don't need an exit. What Axios, I think it was, or we referred to as an exhibition hallway. The space taken up by the hallway to extend the building to the back, and the space committed to the commercial kitchen. Our spaces that could hold the assembly room that you need. The commercial kitchen isn't necessary because we really don't need that. I mean, even when before COVID, we would serve dinners here for the Film Society. All we needed was a warming function. People made those meals at home and brought them here. So I think if you stay within the original footprint, remove the front of the building, you can have the best of both worlds. We have to restore the historic appearance of the property, and you have less of a hill to climb to the budget. On the budget, and I appreciate Peter's comments when I started. But I think there's one thing that's a little different here. We should not expect to receive, bids that are magically or substantially lower than the estimates that we have received. Is that those estimates have been published on the town website, so they are publicly available to bidders. And when the elements of those, some of the elements that we will be soliciting are going to be similar to those that have been published. I don't know why a bidder would assume they should, bid a price substantially lower than the estimates that have been published. So I think that range that we have published, including soft costs, which I think is in the neighborhood of 3.4 to 4. Total elements. I mean, the elements we choose, I think, are going to cost close to the elements that are disclosed. So that leaves us, and I'm relying on Ken's calculation of our budget, and I trust that completely. Ken was a top career official in the White House Office of Management and Budget. I think he knows what he's talking about. I think when you include the 25% soft costs, we have a $1 to $2 million deficit to build. And I understand we can look for grants. Obviously, we need to get into the legislative session, the state and county legislative session very quickly to do that. We're going to have to minimize what we're going to do. And I hope that happens, but I wouldn't count on it. Personally, I'm opposed to the town incurring debt and borrowing to do this. Interest rates are relatively high. Now it's not a good time to borrow. I don't know how we can borrow without town taxpayers have to pay for it. I assume that if we get grants later, perhaps that'll help, but I don't know the papers encourage to do this. So I'd like to see if we can remove the non-historic, stay within our footprint, don't build a commercial kitchen, don't have an exhibition hallway, do have a conference space. And just make sure, I think there was one other point. I don't think we would be able to get our bids down much below the estimates that have been already disclosed. I would say when we go forward, whatever new design we come up with, hybrid approach, I would not publish the town's independent expert. I've spent about 30 years of my career in private practice, Department of Justice, dealing with government procurement in part and got contract relations with the residents. The government, when agencies do their procurements, they don't disclose their government. It's-
Thank you. I appreciate
Give it
that.
up to,
Yeah.
You know, bidders in advance.
We're at 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So, but yes, I hear the point. I have an arrow reminding just to make sure that this is something to discuss.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on our list is Nancy Walls. Your name and address, please.
Nancy Wall, and then the 107 along Main Street, is that what I mean?
No.
Okay, it's more of, you kind of need to hold it like you were speaking very obnoxiously into a children's microphone, it's the best way I can describe it. Nancy Wall, 107 along Main Street. I've lived here a little over 25 years. So I'm the chair of the Historic Preservation Committee, and I'm going to start off by just reading a simple statement from our committee. I'm representing. Not just me. So GP, Historic Preservation Committee, supports the renovation of the town hall, acknowledging that it can take many forms from minor to major, and that it's unclear at this point whether the cost will exceed the funds that we budgeted or otherwise available to the town. But it is absolutely worth investing in the long-term health of this cherished and historic building. It serves so many different town functions and public functions, now and for future generations. The committee especially urges restoration of the historic front by removing the bathrooms that are there, without respect to other elements of the various options offered to the town residents in the survey, the options 1, 2, and 3. The committee stands ready to review proposals and consult as appropriate in a timely manner. So we will become more involved as this progress plays out, but we just wanted to say in the very beginning, we don't have a formal role because the county at the end of the role, when we're ready to choose a design and the historic area work permit is being filled out by the town office, that's when we have to get involved and give a report to the county on how we recommend it. But right now, we want to say that the money thing, we don't know yet, but we have to renovate this, we have to maintain it, and there's so many ways we can do it. We all agree right now, at least, to restore the front as it was built back in the late 1800s. So, me personally, I would just say that I like the hybrid approach, taking some parts of each of the options. But overall, there's one thing that I reacted to, and I did fill out the survey, so I really put in my 2 cents already. I don't think the traffic flow for the kinds of events that we have here has been considered enough by Wiedemann. And I don't know what the RFP asked for, but having been to the film society with food and drink, having been to the soup supper with food and drink, the town dinners and other just special events and parties we had, I don't think the 3 different options have enough room to accommodate the food layout and the number of people that are going to be getting the food. And I'm not saying we should keep it exactly where we have it now. I'm sure it can be improved upon. But that traffic flow is really important for events. And I don't think any of the plans really address that. There's too many holidays. So I just think the event we have here are what everyone loves about this place. It's perfect for so many types of activities. So anyway, that was sort of overall my impression. I want to make sure that we can accommodate the way we hold our events, public events and karate classes and weddings. I don't know that, but I know that our own Garrett Park events that we're going to so many of. And I'd like to hope that we include perhaps a little bit more, that it counts a lot of the functionality that the town has.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Nancy. Let's see. Next, we have Chris Keller. Please come up and you know the drill about name and address.
Chris Keller, 450 Harmon Place, 43 years in Garrett Park. 14 years in various chairs. Thank you for holding this hearing. I'm grateful for the work that all of you have done. But especially Stephen Laskowski, Garrett Park Historic Preservation Committee, and others. I think we put the handout of the QR codes was a volunteer effort.
I got a lot of, I had 17s of teenagers and me.
And I want to honor all of them.
Mhm.
Nonetheless, as Brian observed, I'm speaking tonight solo for myself. And I'm very pleased that we've begun to move again. 5 years ago, when the first meeting of this particular phase was held, and people said what they thought was needed in town hall, I should have thought to say better illumination. My short sightedness is probably not worse in 5 years. I consider the most important single element of any project at town hall to be restoration of the original 19th century front of the building, as Nancy observed. Also, I see many parallels between the town hall project and the restoration and renovation of Penn Place that took place over 20 years ago. The analogies are not exact to be sure, but many of the decisions made then, such as restoration of the original 19th century structure, removal of 20th century completions, and a rethinking of the interior, are remarkably similar. They were difficult decisions at the time, not the least reason being that they were expensive. But I think everyone agrees today that they have proven to be the correct choices. The 1897 structure of the here meeting tonight is, if anything, even more architecturally significant than Penn Place. Therefore, I strongly urge restoration of the front of town. The necessity that requires the location of bathrooms, I suggest 2 ADA compliant bathrooms. The position was, I believe they are at least one of the options. And I fully agree with the mayor that what we're talking about here is taking elements from various options to reach a hybrid and not voting on one. But I strongly suggest that the 2 ADA compliant bathrooms be positioned nearer in the large front sidewalk that are called for, that is called for in each of the elections. I think we all hope for a return to time when events such as Addison Street and other events in front of the town hall can be reinstated. And easy accessibility to public bathrooms is a great asset for activities at that time. I see no need for a commercial kitchen, and I encourage you to especially consider unanticipated added costs of especially the cleaning and ventilation, cleaning of ventilation and exhaust mechanisms at regular intervals that would not be as needed with, and the frequency would not be as great as a smaller one. I agree totally with Nancy with respect to traffic flow. Storage is absolutely critical. I'm 80 years old. I've been through a lot of private residential, commercial, and public structure construction and renovation. There is never, and I qualify this in no fashion whatsoever, there is never enough storage. So I'm pleased that adequate storage seems to be given some thought, but I think it needs further. If the major storage is successful along with the staff, that means there has to be enough storage on this property for renters. And right now, renters, the current renters, are the largest users of storage space. You look at the space that was sliced off in the back of the town manager office in 2000, it's occupied almost entirely by renters such as the music classes, yoga, girls' and so on. If they are going to need all the storage space on this level, that means the lower level will be used only for town storage, such as chairs and tables. they will need a ramp. Steps will not be adequate for the staff to retrieve and store and wash with the feet. Those items. I think other points have been made. I agree wholly with Peter. I was on the council during those years in the speaking of when the finances have been placed. Were hammered out. Adjustment for inflation. This job would be more or less comparable. Keep in mind, however, the major difference, I spoke of the similarities of
Chris,
hospital here and.
we're at 6 minutes,
Major
so
difference is we start out with $1 million along the same. When we did have an issue on the make bond, which was not a penny of tax, airline tax dollars were expended. In that connection, please. Thank you.
thank you. Thank you very much.
Mayor,
Yes.
anyone who who goes up to the mic, please get very, very close to it. I'm getting a lot of comments in the chat that people who are participating virtually are only catching part of what you're saying. So try to get about an inch from the mic. It may feel uncomfortable, but that's the only way the folks at home are going to be able to hear you.
Our next speaker, I'm gonna botch this, I hope I don't, Ken Rabin. Please correct me.
Sunglasses. How hard is that?
Ray-Ban? No.
Ken Raven, 4802 Strathmore, so next door neighbor. Like Mike. I like Mike, I kind of like Mike. Appreciated a lot of his comments, and I think there's a case for plagiarism to be made. I'm aware of contact you. I'll start by saying thank you to all of you. I couldn't believe it. I watched the video from last week. And you crawled out of here at 11:15 at night after a long night. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for the work that you put into this. So, to try to avoid belaboring comments that other people have been made, I'm going to echo some comments, however. First, I want to say something that Molly said to me earlier tonight, and that is the town hall structure is a gem. The layout of this building, the form factor of this building, we believe meets the town needs. We are concerned that improvements are needed. I'm in the fire service. I will tell you, I'm concerned about the lack of fire protection in this building. It would be such a tragedy if this building were lost due to fire. I have concerns, we have concerns on the layouts that have been proposed for our consideration. As others have commented, the move to incorporate a significant second room for dual functions has some unfortunate consequences. The building becomes highly compartmentalized. It jeopardizes the character of the community functions, such as the dinners, the movie nights, the recitals that have happened here. The suggestions that I saw in the plans limit the flow. No more mixing serendipitously during the events. Another issue is the parking. And Mike raised the issue, he's impacted very directly. We're very limited on the parking here. Adding a second independent space creates problems. In addition, the characteristic of adding a large door on the side of the structure facing our property will result in, we believe, significant increase in foot traffic to this side of the building. Currently, there's the utility function taking traffic in and out. It's a very nice neighbor. I suspect that there was a second room
getting occupancy at the same time this room is being used, will be a significant change to the character of the building. The baseline refresh and the property condition review document is quoting a figure of $334,000. And I didn't see elaboration on what that figure meant. If that was, keep the current form factor and refresh paint and other items that were listed, if that is a baseline option, that was perhaps to be considered. I didn't get a sense that it really was, but it speaks to me. I like the idea of refreshing this building. I personally question the value of stripping off some of the elements that are not historic, because that will cause some ramifications in terms of where items get placed, such as restroom facilities. But I'm not a clever architect, perhaps there are ways to do that. Please do not alter the form and function that we have in here. But thank you very much for looking closely at the options.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Jeff, you are next.
Hi guys, I'm Jeff Dunn, 10709 Essex Street. Also, I want to thank all of you guys for sacrificing your free time and your energy for this project. And it's a big project, and it's very hard to do big projects and get them hard. As we have seen in the past. So I have a few comments. The main thing is, echoing other speakers before me, that the cost is ridiculously high. And I don't understand why there is not a bare bones proposal, which I think was the initial plan, to also have a bare bones estimate. And if I look at the Axios report, it says that this building is structurally sound. And it does need several things in the next 10 years. And the main things are the siding, windows, the bathrooms, and maybe a sprinkler system. And I may have forgotten one thing, but the total for that would be $330,000. Now we have three options here that all cost, including soft cost, which I don't know exactly what it means. Is that also an architect's cut? How much I'm certainly this architect, I don't know. But in any case, it's all 4 million plus. So if you look at construction in Garrett Park, down in Oxford Street, there is a house for sale for $2.1 million. I believe they paid $500,000 for the lot, and it's a 5,000 square foot house. So that's $300 per square foot. We're talking here about, for option one, $1,500 per square foot. This is a ridiculous difference, and it makes me really wonder who did the estimate, because this sounds very unprofessional. But in any case, so if we just look at bare bones plan versus the three plans that are offered, I don't see really with option one what is the improvement over the bare bones proposal. Bare bones proposal preserves the structure as well as does option one, because option one does mostly interior stuff. It also does the siding and the windows. So I don't see what is extra. If you have that, if you look at the difference between $4 million and $330,000, you have $360,000 plus. You could build an exact replica of the town hall at the dog park. and have even functions added to it, and $1 million left over. So I don't really see that. Then the last thing is about storage. I agree with Chris. If you add a little basement here for $800,000 extra, you have to drag all these chairs through the outside, like down the stairs to the basement. Who's going to do that? I don't really see that. I think the storage has to be on the second level. Sorry, I got a little
Did you get it up there?
thank you for listening. By the way, I'm all for spending on community projects, so whatever you guys decide, I'm happy with it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So that is the end of our list of folks who identified themselves or said in advance that they wanted to participate. I'm happy to take some spontaneous talkers. Come on up. Name and address, please, and then if you can tip that down.
I think I'm loud enough for that.
No, we need it for recording purposes and also for our presume.
Hi, I'm Marilyn Huber. I've been in this town for 34 years.
What's your address, please, Marilyn?
10917 Claremont Avenue. And I just want to speak to people who rent the space. I rented the space about 4 years ago for a big party for 100 people, and it was fabulous. People came from not only Garrett Park, but elsewhere, and also from New York. And one of the issues we did have, because we had a lot of dancing, was the carpeting throughout. And my concern also was if food falls on it, how do you clean it? You have to get rid of it. So I think very strongly that we need to have wood floors throughout, or some kind of wood lavender floors that can be cleaned easily. I thought the flow that I had at that party was went really well. So that was my thoughts, and I guess lighting would be important, but kind of basic things that would make being here easy and safe and clean. So that's my thought.
Thank you so much, Marilyn. Who else? I'm willing to entertain people in the building first. Come on up, Jack.
Thank you. I'm Jack Mandel, 11314 Rokeby. So I'd like to reinforce just a little bit Nancy and the other folks pointing about flow. Flow to me is the most important thing we can look at as when we look at using the entire space. And I think what we've been going back and forth on, what we go back and forth on is a little bit of space, whole space, a little bit of space. And we don't have any idea. I don't have any idea historically how the town is used. So seeing some of those numbers might be helpful. You know, how often are groups under 10 using the space? How often is it used by the entire community? I know from the Gibbs Soup Supper, from Music Hall, from the Progressive Dinner, from the Film Society, how important flow becomes. And it really becomes, and to Marilyn's point, it becomes an organic part of the experience of being here. If you have a top-notch AV facility that anybody can use, maybe rent it. I know that I've been in touch with people who could set up a wall unit, or if you have use of, if you rent, you have use of the AV system, you know the code to put in, and now you have use of the AV system. So all that's doable as long as it's then replaceable 10 years from now, and not like these that are very difficult to replace. So flow is just, flow becomes that organic nature of flow that made the Film Society so successful, is because people felt like this was their home. And what we don't want to see happen is that this becomes a rental unit first and a Garrett Park Community Center second. So part of that, one of the things I also don't understand is, I understand Penn Place is undergoing some renovation, some plans. Will there be meeting space there? How much meeting space there? Will that eliminate the need for a meeting space back there? I don't know that, so I really can't provide input until I really know the full sum of what's going on. Also, we don't know what the rental income requirements are. Do we need rental income here? Is it important financially to the community to have rental income? And if so, what percentage of the utility of the use of the space should be rental income? That helps me out. You know, how much money did we get from rent over the past 5 years? Do we see that growing over the next few years? Is that important to our decision-making process? I don't know. I'd like to encourage that when we talk about storage, we have enough storage for some of the groups in town, like Film Society, like Gibbs, like other groups who have equipment that have to store it in people's basements. That we have a place that we can store things, so that we don't have to always carry it back and forth and then block driveways, because we're so busy trying to unload stuff. And I guess that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much,
Jack.
Jack. Let's see, I'm happy to take, let's see, Jim Cole. I see you there, queued up. You are welcome to start. Name and address, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Jim Cole, 11024 Rokeby Avenue. I want to raise an issue that I think could adversely affect the decision-making process, and that is that the numbers in the estimate are off by a lot, not a little bit, but a lot. If you take the cost plus the soft cost and divide by the square footage of the three options, it works out to $1,400 per square foot. From what I can see, the industry norm is $200 to $500 per square foot for historic renovations. So why is our number so high? There are two reasons. One, whoever did the estimate didn't bother to look up the actual cost of some of the materials. A sink for the bathroom, an ADA compliant sink, does not cost $1,700. It costs $280. A janitor mop sink does not cost $3,815. It costs $230. The second problem is that in over 40 places in the estimate where a quantity was needed, they dropped in the number 2,433, which happens to be the square footage of the building. So we're going to be buying 2,433 feet of copper pipe. If you actually put that in a house, you'd have 20 pipes going back and forth from the front of the house to the back and 30 pipes going up into the walls. We're going to buy 2,433 lighting fixtures, according to this estimate. So my concern is that I think the overall number might be off by a factor of 2 or even higher. And so we could end up discarding options or portions of options as being unaffordable when they actually would be affordable. So I would really like to see a more competent estimator take a run at this and give us numbers that make a lot more sense.
All right, thank you very much. Let's see, who else is there? Anybody in the building? Yes, please, come on up. Name and address, please.
I'm Garrett Chapman. I live at 10925 Ellery Avenue. And I just want to say, in response to what Nicole said, I wish somebody would clarify. I can't imagine that the estimate, if you say copper pipes, is actually measuring copper pipes by square footage of copper pipe. I assume there is a way to, I don't know if to estimate the amount of copper pipe you need for a building of such square footage. Is that right?
That's what he's doing, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so a lot of misinformation on the town listserv website, wherever this stuff is. And the notion that the estimators are completely incompetent because somebody doesn't understand how estimating is done. I think someone needs to speak up who knows and understands how estimating works, because otherwise the misinformation keeps getting repeated. So I don't know who on the town council responds to these things, but somebody needs to respond when misinformation is out there.
I will respond at the moment, not substantively, but just to let you know that we this is something that we struggle with is wanting to have the discussions and the debates in the appropriate forum, not the town forum on the web. And so one of the things that Barb is working on is a response to some of that, and the concept of the big thing that I think is most out of range of what makes sense is this is not a residential building. We can't just go to Home Depot and buy a mop sink and put it in here. Just can't. There are, for a number of reasons. One, first of all, it's not going to be the quality that we need, that is required for a building, for a commercial building, for a government building. There are just different standards and different requirements. So we can't compare those two things. It raises concern where it's not needed. So Harry, I appreciate your raising that. And I've asked Barb and she's said, please let me, respond to some of this stuff. But yes, this is not something that we take lightly. And we don't want that there to be misinformation driving the conversation. But at the same time, I'm trying to elevate it by saying, what do we need? What do we want this building to be? Trying to change that and move in that direction. I hope that answers the question. I see a hand raised online or on Zoom. If you could please give your name and address. We welcome your comments. You are muted.
Hi, I'm Sue Petito. I live at 11409 Rokeby Avenue. I have a mere detail to inquire about. The stage behind you all is more of, I don't know if because it's historic, we must keep it, but it certainly interrupts the flow. And the closet to the west, is it west? The closet by the American flag has not so much stored in it. And I wonder if we even need to keep it. There's a wonderful window that has been blocked. If the surface of the room were flat, and if we need to keep one closet, it could be in the interior of the room. There would be many more options for lots of things, including the piano. I noted that the architects had drawn the grand piano on the stage. If the two steps remain, once the piano is professionally moved up the stairs, it has to stay there unless we pay movers to move it down. The piano is not just a piano, it's on a major rolling base. So should someone want to get married, for instance, and they want to use the stage, they have to share it with a grand piano. So I wonder about why we have to keep the stage. The room could be bigger as one flat area. Sorry, that's just a detail. But in order to protect our piano, it shouldn't go up and down the stairs unless people hire professional movers for several $100s, which is really not going to happen. They'll try to do it themselves and it will. Okay, I've said my detail.
Thank you so much, Sue. And in fact, that was a question I hadn't considered. And because I have the mic, I asked Steve really quick if the stage, if the elevated stage is historic, or if that is something that we could.
I mean, it's an element from when it was a chapel, but typically the county HBC is okay with changing the interior of things. They won't allow you to change the front of the building. But if there's something for adaptive reuse of the building, I think most likely they would allow us to flatten it. I think that came up when we talked about this building in maybe 2018, 2019. I think either you, Sue, or maybe Chris Keller or somebody suggested doing just that to flatten it.
Thank you. I just wanted to know if that was an option or, okay.
Yeah, I think it can be.
All right, thank you. Let's see.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sue. Anyone in the building who wants to chime in? Okay, what about on? Oh, Peter wants to try again. Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
boy. Okay, nice and close, please, Peter. And your address again, please.
My address is still 107. I have been mayor of this town 12 years. Longer than anybody else. And during that time, there have been some patterns that have occurred again and again. And anytime we take on a major project, people say, no, they hate change. They don't want anything to change. When we did Penn Place, they didn't want us to move the post office, which was in the little shed over the back. They said, you're moving the post office into the basement. You can't do that. Well, we moved the post office into the basement, and I think at the present time, people feel reasonably comfortable with that. A lot of these things are, anything that's different are things that people feel uncomfortable with. When I first became mayor, the way that we repaved the streets was we put down gravel and then oil on top of the ground. That's where they do that out in farm country. We changed that to using asphalt. Now, asphalt may have its disadvantages, certainly in terms of what it does to water. But, you know, this is one of those situations where, as you are debating the various issues that come along, anything that is different is something that people don't like. And anything that costs money is something that people like. It is inherent in our town. I think we're faced with a situation here where we have an opportunity to take a facility that can be used very effectively into the future if we are thoughtful and creative. And I personally would rather spend more to do it right. And as you pointed out, make sure that the equipment you have in there is high quality equipment. That is the kind of thing that you put in a commercial facility, which is what we will have and do have. So saving a penny here or a penny here is not going to make a big difference. And again, when we did the financing for Penn Place, we were able to do it with no increase in taxes. We were able to do it with a large amount of state money. All of those things still exist. There's still those ways to do this. So I think what we really need to do is find out what we think is going to make this the most useful place and the nicest place, consistent with its historic nature. Build that and then go get the money they have that.
So while you have the mic, and we can bring in more people and also, but what are those things? You know, everybody's saying we need to think about what we want to do with this. We need to think about how to best use this. I'm still waiting for you guys to tell me what that is. You know, like the question is, you know, what is it?
And people have a real hard time stepping out and saying, what would happen if we did this differently?
So Peter, tell me something.
I don't have those.
Oh,
answers.
okay. All right. Well,
That's why I'm not mayor and you are.
all right. Naveed, I think you are, oh, I'm sorry. Is that okay? You. Thank you.
Okay. All right, good evening, Naveed Nikui, 11311 Kenilworth Avenue. We have been residents of Garrett Park for 3 years. We love the city. We love how quaint it is. And the town hall is a big part of that. I do think, back to what Jack was saying, we should do analysis of really what's the need and what will people use this for. This is not going to be, you know, I don't think we want this to be a commercial kind of facility with a lot of traffic and a lot of activities. It should support the town's requirements, which would probably be facilitated by one large big meeting room and support areas. I don't think, you know, we want to open this up to commercial kitchens and stuff like that. You're just not going to be able to rent it out and recover the money that's required to kind of support this. So my recommendation is look for one big, large meeting room, have facilities that upgrade the place and keep it on the outside looking the same. The extensions, if they want to stay or go, that really doesn't matter. But again, stay within what the town needs and what it can afford. And just keep it to that. That's my recommendations. And thanks for the council mayor for taking on this major undertaking. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jack, yeah, I mean, we have time. I mean, I can't imagine can't believe that there are fewer things to be said, but, you know, than the amount of
I'd
time.
like to respond to your question.
Please, Jack, yes.
But the reason we struggle with that is every generation coming here is going to create more need with the space that's here. And so if you open up the space, you're going to have the folks who are putting together like the annual beer fest. You know, they're going to start to use the space indoors, falls out. They're going to expand. They're going to maybe let the kids do things indoors in a more comprehensive way. And so, to the beach point, a large space that we can use for whatever we come up with. In the last 20 years, we've come up with. In the next 20 years, the idea is people will want to come up with things in the space will be here. And that's why we don't know if there will be meeting space in Penn Place. If there will be meeting space in Penn Place, I think they're a big issue. So that's all. So things are going to happen because it's here.
Oh, Field of Dreams, that'd be great. Yes. Thank you, Ken.
This is your fault, maybe. So. A function of this room that we desperately wanted in our little family. When Molly had a certain birthday.
25.
Who say which one? We wanted to hold a Kaylee. We wanted to hold a Kaylee. Kaylee, it's a dance.
Okay.
And so we had musicians we hired. This doggone rug eliminates the ability to batter and make music on the floor with your shoes. And in Irish dancing, tapping the floor makes a difference. So what did we do? We paid somebody to build a floor over the floor. So I am so unimaginative and thinking about my comments tonight, I cannot step out of my body and look at the future that Peter suggested. So ignorant, incapable. So thank you for raising that, because, oh my goodness, we had a need and it wasn't fulfilled by the facility. It would be lovely if it was possible to be able to have a floor that we could dance on with some nice sound. Thank you.
I got to say, that is exactly the kind of stuff that I want to hear from people. Like, that's the stuff that I want you guys to write on the survey. Like, I want, tell me what was wrong with this rug. I mean, I look at it and I just think, it's a rug.
That's why somebody did.
Well, I think that was, but please, more of that. That is absolutely what we're looking for.
It's a.
You can come up with this. Oh, it's a cleanliness issue. Okay. All right.
Just a question. People advocating for more space or a large space, is this space big enough? Or do we need more than this?
So I can tell you.
Jack, come on up to, yeah, I know. We should just get you your own mic.
From a film society, that I'm from 20 years of doing this. We had 50 to 60 people here on really good nights. Could we have more? Probably, because we would often run out of food, because the kitchen was limited, the flow back and forth. I mean, everybody got used to it pre-COVID. And now I think people might have a little bit of an issue being as close as they are. But in here, I think we could have filled more space. When we had an outdoor film, one outdoor film, we had 80 people at that. We had more people at that than we ever had indoors.
Molly, you wanting to talk about this Irish dance that we ruined?
Molly Raymond, 2802 Strathmore. The issue with space, this room is great, but what I like about this building is there are multiple discrete rooms, but they're not connected by halls. They're connected with big open spaces. So that's what Ken and other people looked at and they said, love. The designs that we've seen, all of them have more hallways, which really limits what you can do. You can have a small meeting in a big space. You cannot have a larger group in a small space. So you can have a small meeting up there along that floor, which I Sue commented about. That the ability to move the piano around, I know you'd like to, because it is bad for it, but not one of those designs gives you an option to move the piano. That's just an example of how it kind of limits the way the space can be used. And if you keep it more, not that it needs to be exactly like this, but if you keep it with rooms that connect more openly, you have a lot more flexibility in the way the space is used. It means more people's needs.
Thank you. Nobody else? Early night to make up for the meeting last week that went to 11:15. Anybody on Zoom wanna?
Yes, Sue Petito has her hand up.
Sue Petito. Okay, welcome back.
Hi.
Hello.
Sue Petito, 11409 Rokeby Avenue. Sorry for my technical skills here. Just following on those last 2 points, if the room were a flat surface and that one closet were removed, there would be more space for people. People could configure the room. The head could be on any wall. And the piano could be moved easily around anywhere to other rooms as long as it's a flat surface. My point was that the piano can't do stairs. Once you put it up on stairs, it really should stay there unless you have expensive professional people moving it because it's on the professional casters. So it's not hard to move it around as long as it's flat. And if it were flat, it would hold more people.
Thank you for clarifying.
That's all. Thank you.
Barb, is there anybody else on Zoom that wants to?
No one has their hand
hear me?
raised.
This is Elizabeth. Can you hear me?
Can
Can
yes,
anybody
Elizabeth.
hear me?
Yes, Elizabeth, we can hear you. This
Okay,
is Elizabeth Henley.
I'm-
Just go ahead and tell us who you are, Elizabeth.
Okay, Elizabeth Henley, no longer at 11009 Kenilworth Avenue. As somebody who's been taking prospective renters through the hall for 16 years, I just want to say how often people just love the hall and think that it's perfect. And this isn't to say necessarily that it should stay the way it is, but to just let folks know that it's a beloved place and has been perfect and well suited for many, many people who have rented over the years multiple times. People have gotten married here and come back for a 25th anniversary party and so on and so forth. That's all.
Thank you for giving us that context. Anybody else? All right, I'm willing to adjourn. Or wait, nope, sorry, we can't adjourn. I need a council member, but that ends the public hearing portion of this. I need a council member to make a motion to enter closed session. And pretty much just read what's on the agenda.
Thank you all for coming tonight.
Yep. Thanks, everyone.
We're fine. You're legally here. Oh, no. The vote to enter closed session is public.
Then we'll take a break. Yeah.
So we will we'll wait till everybody's out before we move on to the.
Okay, I'll make a motion then that we vote to enter closed session pursuant to Maryland Code provisions article section 3-305B1 to discuss a personnel matter involving a specific employee.
Got a second? We got a second?
We're not.
Yes.
Yeah,
All right.
who was the second? I'm sorry, we do have to have a clear vote on the public record, Todd.
Okay.
Todd did, yeah, okay. I'm in favor.
Barb, it sounds like you need us to do that again when we can actually.
I
do it.
think that would actually be good just to have a clear
Okay.
public record.
Gentlemen, we need to go.
Can I go to the restroom?
Let's vote
I'm
on-
going.
Let's get.
Vote on that, okay.
Vote.
Go to my restroom.
We're going to cut the
Okay.
thing. This has to be public, so.
Bill said no restroom.
Chris. Appreciate
Yeah.
you. Thank you. All right, it's quieter, so. I'm
Okay,
We'll have to.
I shall repeat myself.
Please do, and let me just say, the time is 8:54 and wow.
Wow. So at 8:54, I move that we vote to enter closed session pursuant to Maryland Code General Provision Article Section 3-305B1 to discuss a personnel matter involving a specific employee.
Second motion.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous.
We still record or do we turn off?
We,